What's up, everybody? I'm back with another episode of the Keep Going podcast. Today, my guest's name is Mikey Dillard. He's the CEO of Century Martial Arts based out of Oklahoma City. He's a brown belt at the jiu-jitsu gym I train at, American Top Team OKC. He's a father, a husband, dabbles in commercial real estate. He's well versed in many areas and just an awesome guy. The things that stood out to me in this episode was his growth through the company and becoming a CEO, his mindset on how to treat business life and how to create a balance for himself, and also his intentionality with not only his time, but also his business and making sure he gets as much done as possible when it's work time, and also growing Century on a global scale through many different martial art disciplines. He's a very interesting guy, and I'm blessed that he was able to sit down with me and have a conversation. I hope you all enjoyed as much as I did. As always, keep going. Mikey, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Man. I appreciate it.
For the people, though, I want you to just kind of describe what you do, because I would describe it wrong.
Okay, so what I do, our family is in the martial arts distribution and supply business. And so my father started Century Martial Arts, which is based in Oklahoma, in 1976.
Wow.
And he kind of grew that throughout his career. And then in college, when I was a junior in college, we kind of sat down and I kind of noticed that my friends were starting to go, like, figure out what they were going to do with their life. And I never forget my roommate putting on a suit and tie and going one day, and I thought he was going to class. I was like, why you dressed up for class? He's like, I'm going to the career fair, man. I got to get a job. Mm-hmm. And I was probably, I was good in school, but I was probably always maybe enjoying myself too much. But I was like, I just didn't think about what was my next step. And at that point in time, I'd worked at Century for throughout high school and college, but doing like kind of odd jobs here and there, working in our manufacturing and our distribution and our maintenance department stuff, just kind of like knowing all the people that work there. But I never really thought this is something I could do, but only because my father never insinuated. He was never he doesn't give me anything.
So it wasn't
makes
like,
me work
your
for
business.
it. Yeah, I never thought that was an opportunity. And also that he kind of has a very set vision in his way. I can't imagine telling him what to do, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But then when I was a junior, we decided to sit down and talk about what he was going to do with the company. And he didn't want to sell it or do anything like that. So I asked him, I was like, well, I mean, I'm the last child you've got left, because I've got a brother and sister that were not into it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm willing to take this on if you want to see how it develops. And so I just, from then on, started with the notion of getting involved in the business. And so.
And that was still during college or right after college?
That was a junior in college, and I was an accountant by education in college. So I started working in our accounting department kind of there. And then I started spending a year in every one of our departments until I graduated. And then you think, oh, I graduated college, let me get this nice cushy job. But no, that's not how our family works. So graduated college, went directly to our warehouse, worked there for 2 years, just unloading trucks.
Just laboring, huh? Learning
things from the ground up. And then slowly went to just different departments to start learning things from the ground up.
It's crazy because I have known Century since I was a kid, but I didn't even realize it till I came to American Top Team, and they're like, no, he runs Century. And I'm like, oh, like the stuff I always see at every sporting goods store, because I thought that was you don't think it's from Oklahoma. No. Like, that's pretty impressive, especially how global it is.
Yeah, and so, I mean, as the sport of martial arts kind of developed in the United States, he had some opportunities that the right time at the right place, but also just did a really good job. And we're very dependable. And I guess some of our competitors are just, they can't succeed despite themselves, kind of thing. And so I think we were able to fill a void and be dependable. So
50 years already is crazy.
Yeah, we're going on 40 to 48.
How old is your dad?
He's 75.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little older.
He is.
Because you're younger, right? You're in your 30s?
Yeah, he still trains with me every day. And he trains with Giuliano at American Top Team sometimes.
Oh, like privates?
Yeah, he used to work out. G does really good with like rehabilitation stuff, and he's had some serious back things. So he trains quite a bit, just like weightlifting and stuff. But he trains martial arts with us at work all the time still.
Oh, wow.
A big part of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've met your dad.
Yeah. Next time he comes in, we'll have to show you too.
Okay, cool, for sure. He's not that really buff dude that drives the white car.
No.
Okay, I was like, I don't think that's your dad because I would know. But
my dad is super low key, humble guy. Doesn't wear fancy anything. Drives an F-150. He thinks it's really funny. He wears this Mickey Mouse watch sometimes because he's got friends in the martial arts. People have quote unquote made it.
Yeah,
got
Rolex.
Oh, look at my big watch. He's like, yeah, I got a Mickey Mouse watch. So
and it goes off.
It doesn't make you
hour.
any more. Yeah, it doesn't make you any more special than anybody else. I promise.
Well, that you said dependable, but then you also said a couple other things of like him making you work for it and not just saying, "Hey, this is your business." So automatically it gives me a perception of really good core values.
Yes, that's
pretty impressive.
Around, especially respect, and that's our number one. I read it our company values because we didn't really have any. We had some sayings around our company, but we didn't really have any like written values we're trying to hold people accountable for. So yeah, at the top of that list is respect. So that's a big
and you've
thing.
been running it for what? That's got to be 10 years now at least?
No, so I've only been the CEO for 1 year. And
wow, brand new.
Yes, it's brand new. It's been a rough year too. But he's kind of been
proud of you for being a CEO, man. Congrats.
I appreciate
That's
it.
awesome.
It's one of those things. It sounds really awesome. Now I'm doing it. It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard in ways that I just never thought would be hard because I've learned the business inside and out. And so I know a little bit of everything, and that's awesome. But when you're in the driver's seat and you have to deal with everybody's problems and team members and this, that, and the other, and it's like there's always just a random fire gets started for no reason.
Yeah.
Everyone looks. You got to go put that out before you can go about your day. So.
Well, it's still impressive, though, because with you being, a younger man, I know you're a grown man with family, kids, but you're a younger guy
I play the younger card guy.
Yeah, you're definitely a younger guy. And to have all that responsibility, but be capable of doing something with it, it doesn't only speak to your character, but your skills as well. Because I was talking to a friend the other day, I used to think adults were something that, like, you're a kid and then you're an adult and you're an adult, but it just happens.
Yeah.
And then for you to walk into that after, setting a good foundation and now you're the CEO, like you're moving kind of fast.
Yeah. I think that everybody decides when they're an adult, but like takes you've got to know the kind of man you are kind of situation. And I think COVID was definitely that for me.
How so?
Just COVID was like it was 2019. I just remember I was still working my way up through the company, and it was really just normal, like, here's our strategy for the year and everything. And then all of a sudden it's like screech the brakes, and we went home not ever knowing if the business was going to be there anymore. And so then it became like every day for 2 years was like showing up. People were crying at the work because they wanted to go home and all this stuff that now we know wasn't as big a concern, but psychologically it was a big deal for them.
Yeah. And it was,
we were having meetings like, are we going to make money today or not? Meeting like every morning for 2 years. It was just like a high intensity deal. It was like, well, you see what you're made of. It's like, oh, they're going to close our doors next week if we don't find a reason to be mandatory. I was like, I had to pick up my phone and be like, all right, who's important that I know? Everything. And I ended up landing a contract to make masks for OU Medical Center, in which case that was like my literally golden ticket. I was like put on the window. It's like, we're mandatory. We're essential. Just don't close us down, even though they never actually came around knocking. But at that point in time, we thought we had to have.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you got a contract that fast just shows like business skills.
Well, we had to make a pattern and sew samples and do all that stuff. And I was like, I care less about making masks, I care a lot more about making them. And then like 1 week into, or what? Okay, not 1 week, maybe a month into COVID, all of a sudden we knew we had an inventory. We sold through like 3 months of inventory that we had on hand in like 1 month. We were like, maybe this isn't going to be so bad.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden the fear of not making money turned into a fear of like, well, we got to strike while the iron's hot here. And so there was a ton of other constraints around like raw materials and stuff like that. And we just had to dive in.
That was tough.
And be like, we had to ramp up production on these. We went from selling 18,000 things to selling 16. And those 16 things, we had to have like, we used to make 500 bags a week, and we started making 2,500 bags a day. And
what?
So we were like shifted our entire business. And so that made me realize the man. it gave me an opportunity to be like a leader in a totally different light, because social media and online selling pretty much were the only options. And so everybody else who's old school kind of, I mean, everyone played their role, but like they had to take a backseat in terms of like kind of being out of their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And me and my brother-in-law Kyle, that we're the younger people, so it's like, well, what are we gonna do? And so we had to step into that role, and that was just a crazy time.
Well, it's like a passing of the guard almost.
Yeah.
And you kind of, and not only see the man you are, but you get to see what value you have.
Yes.
Like, because sometimes we struggle, and I usually speak obviously from my perspective, but sometimes you have that, like, I'm not capable enough, or I'm not worth it to be CEO. Like, what?
Yes.
Or I'll see
all that.
Yeah, I'll see your marketing, and you'll be like, well, I'm in this country. You said a country today I don't even know how to pronounce. Say it one more time. Uzbekistan. Like, I didn't even know. And I see you, and that's usually when we message the most, is when you're traveling. That's a different way, because I'm sure, the company itself has always grown. But now you taking that role, I bet that's a huge responsibility of basically going and doing networking and marketing to grow your business, but on a huge scale.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, what's the next generation going to be? And we've been around the United States for a really long time, but I guess even sometimes when I'm not doing that stuff, I have to say I'm a pit of my stomach. Like, man, am I sure this is the right move? Because everyone else looks like, what the hell? What are you doing in Europe, doing this, that, and the other? And it's I actually have to believe in that you're making the right path and go 100% and just be confident in what you're going. But it's because you look at the landscape and things are just so much different now than they were back in my father's generation. But then also COVID changed things, and so you have to like react and just go all in. And my move for my generation will be one. We started these other two brands, Gameness and a company called Punok.
What's the Punok do?
Punok is for WKF karate, and so there's kind of, so I can explain that in a minute. But there's kind of 3 different markets that we play in, and 6 different styles of martial arts.
Go ahead.
Kind of go into.
Go ahead and
but my generation will be defined by like taking this thing global, because it's, for some reason in the United States, it's actually, when you do product stuff, real estate's different, we should talk about later too, but it's like product stuff is becoming harder in the United States because it's the imported stuff from other countries, and things can just like cut your legs out from under you. And when you go to a country like Uzbekistan, which you're talking about, it's like they don't have as much access as the United States, because all these countries want to flood us with stuff. And so when you gain the access, or one individual does, it's like the price all of a sudden becomes not as large of an issue, because it's all this market that they don't have there's a lot of things they don't have, and so they have access to this, and they're like, oh, I want it.
And it makes it easy because you're doing well at developing that relationship by, like I said, providing value and being dependable, that they're like, oh, well, instead of trying to outsource to 30 people, I can outsource to one company and get all my product. And on a scale, they're gonna buy in those large amounts.
Absolutely. And you go out, like you take that huge step to go and make that relationship, and anybody else, they haven't done that.
They're trying to do a Zoom call.
There's a lack of will to like go and establish the relationship. But once it's made, it's like, all right, now we're in business, guys. And those guys don't want to let the other guys in, the other competitors or anything in either.
There's a blend to that too, because that's kind of a older school mentality, like golf course deals, like that type of stuff, But I feel like a lot of people in our age group that are successful in business, it's because we are understanding that it takes planting seeds and then watching them grow. And sometimes people want it right now, and they wouldn't see the benefit of you going to these countries and spending a week or two, because it may not be money today. Yeah. But you do, because that's literally how the podcast started. Was I did coffee meetings for 3 years where I met someone once a week, and then it boomed. But you on a monetary scale, like you're going to go for years. You're going to do this every year for however long you want to do it. And 5 years from now, that might be 26 countries that work with you. It might be 30 places that work with you.
And it looks glamorous when you see that. I mean, our old generation is filled with like, looks great on Instagram. Yeah, you don't see that. I don't pay for those flights. We use them all on points. Yeah. It's the only way I ever fly is if it's like, cost me like $34 to go to Europe last time, because I went from Oklahoma to Chicago, and Chicago to Amsterdam to Budapest to Germany. I was like, just grinding in the back, and I'm like, it's horrible. But, at the end of if you're an entrepreneur, it's like, gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, so. I think that's huge for you to say, because people do look at someone that's successful and instantly think, not negatively, but they're like, oh, he must be spending all this money.
Yeah.
But anyone that's smart and understanding profit and loss, like they're trying to do it for the lowest cost possible. And I had a friend in real estate, his name's Roshan. He was a dentist, went to school to be a dentist, like $700,000 or something in debt from all that schooling. And then bought real estate and was able to pay that off, sell his dentist business and get more free.
Yeah.
But that comes from being smart in certain areas. So when you say points, like, I'm about to go to Europe, it was on points.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm some guru. It's I have business expenses or I have life expenses, and I know how to pay them correctly.
Exactly.
And especially with you on a scale of owning a company.
Yeah.
So it's just, those are little things that people need to understand, that it's intelligence. It's not always just money. Because obviously you make good money with the company. The company's profitable. But it's how you're strategic, how you keep your money.
Yes, absolutely.
They always say that, like, how much you keep. How much do you keep?
Yes.
What's your net?
And I'll send my team, they're the ones I'm like, I know that they only have so much tolerance for certain things, although I want people in the trenches with me. I'm like, I'll send them. When they go business class, and they go straight there.
Yeah, they get one or two flights. You're like,
I'm like, oh, that's cool, whatever.
Well, I bet that comes from the humble beginning of your dad making you earn everything.
Well, that too, but also just I want to be frugal when it can be, and I also know, like, our industry's hard, and there's always a bigger company out there willing to pay people more. So I'm just always want to make sure that I'm cognizant that I know that they don't want to go overseas necessarily either. They're not as passionate about me. So if I'm making them do things and they're only getting paid so much, I'm like, well, then I'm going to make sure you have the most quality and comfortable experience that I can provide to you, and while staying on the budget.
Well, that's probably what the people you go to meet feel too. Because I know you're getting something from them because you're in their presence, but you trying to make their experience better. I mean, it can go a long way.
I was sitting at a dinner, like when I had to go to Budapest. I don't think they'll hear this. So. But I was sitting next to my competitor and somebody else, and who's important. And then they're like on the power dynamic in Europe is very different.
Okay. What do you mean?
There's some of them that are just like, look at the expensive stuff, and it's not like even a generational thing. They're like, this guy's made it. He's got power. I'm going to listen. And I'm not that way. I'm like, but I was sitting next to them. They're talking about their fancy designer shoes and how nice their watch is. And then I'm sitting next to all my customers. They're like, I'm trying to persuade. And they're all just like eye rolling, like, oh, I wish I could afford that. Just like, how are you guys not, more self-aware that these people who buy stuff from you, they effectively pay you, are not very impressed by what you're spending your money on and flaunting it in front of them. Like, they're all like doing the everyday stuff, and you're just kind of sitting in your ivory tower. It's just like, this is,
well,
they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, I don't wear watches. And they're like, bro, this guy's the other one.
Well, he's the real one. And like,
it made them look bad. I don't even think that they were aware. I was like, you guys should stop talking.
Well, yeah, it makes them look bad. And then it also gives you some confidence, and it gave me confidence traveling and building relationships, because you realize if you are just yourself and provide value, then the relationship begins. Because I'll sit in rooms, and you always want to be like the dumbest or the brokest in the room, because that means you're in a good room. But sometimes the gap is insane. Like, you'll be sitting with someone that is making 40 times as much as you and runs so many companies or whatever. But then if you have a real conversation with them, that gap is shrunk.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can call them and have a regular conversation about like life and business. But it's not like, well, how much did you make this year before you talk to me? And like, hang up the phone.
I hate that.
Because there's people like that.
There are
like those guys with the flaunting their stuff.
I know. But about what Century is about, and like, I guess you asked me about the brand and the market. So Century is a martial arts distribution company, which is like a big thing to unpack. But we manufacture stuff as well. And when I say that, it means
some of the best stuff. We got to say that.
Yeah, some of the best stuff. But it's an interesting world. So martial arts in the United States was kind of brought too. A big part of it's Taekwondo. And that's because after the Korean War, people came back. That kind of brought this back, and a lot of Koreans came back and they started evangelizing the United States in Taekwondo. And they did it all over the world. I mean, you see, Taekwondo is huge.
Yeah, Taekwondo is huge. It's all I knew growing up was Taekwondo schools.
And there was no internet. And so Taekwondo kind of lived this like mysterious kind of in the movies. And then Bruce Lee came and it came Hollywood, and all these things kind of created this perfect storm. But not a lot of people knew where these things came from, and like brands weren't a big deal back then. What was a big deal is that you trained at so-and-so school. And so Century was kind of always behind the scenes. Like we actually you couldn't even find Century if you tried to back in the 80s, 90s, because they wanted to make the school the star, right?
So the school's the star, but everything in the
They had a Century uniform, but it said Tiger Cho's martial arts, something like that, and Taekwondo. And that's how the model always was. And then on the internet and e-commerce, it was like, now these brands are becoming a bigger and bigger deal. But we always service the martial arts school. And that typically means like karate schools, Taekwondo schools, Kempo, all these very traditional things in the United States. But we kind of got pegged to white uniforms and belts. I mean, that was like, and that's become what we consider a commodity now. Anybody can buy a white uniform and a belt. So we have to, my generation has been more about like, we got to make some special stuff here. We've always had punching bags, which is kind of like what the company's known for. But even that serves this little niche. And when jiu-jitsu started becoming a really big deal, we were like, we got to get into this more. Because like only so many people are going to do traditional martial arts. Jiu-jitsu is taking off. We got to get into it. So we spent a lot of money and wasted a lot of time trying to convince people that the white uniform karate company could do jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu it's like, one, adults are in power. They're the one making the purchases, less so than mom and dad. Yeah. Adults will buy like 3 or 4 keys, turns out. They like how they fit. They're willing to pay expensive sometimes.
Well, I got to say, your Airlight ones, it may not be called Airlight.
What's the Gameless ones?
Are they called Airlight?
At this point in time, we were doing all Century stuff. Trying to be in the jiu-jitsu market, spinning our wheels, like just wasting money, wasting time, got the stuff wrong. Like the product wasn't good. And
that learning curve.
We were trying to like fool people, and we were fooling ourselves. Our product wasn't even as good. And so that was a big learning lesson for us. Man, we should stop being the karate guys trying to act like jiu-jitsu. Let's just go find a jiu-jitsu company. And it fell in our lap because somebody came and brought us Gameness and tried to get us to buy them, and we actually turned them away at first. And then my father's very clever at doing deals, and that comes from his real estate side. But he created a pretty damn good buyout scenario, which we didn't really have to put a bunch of money into it, but we acquired this company over time. And so we decided like they was the car model. GMC owns Cadillac, and the other one, well, we're like that model now. So we go out and buy the expensive brand for Cadillac. Like we can go act like Cadillac to the Cadillac crowd, and GMC is going to be behind it. So Century's behind it, but Gameness presents itself as the jiu-jitsu company.
Well, that's smart to have different umbrellas.
Yeah. And then came WKF Karate, which a lot of people think is like any karate too, but it's like Olympic style, and it looks very different. Okay. And it's huge in Europe. Like Spain alone has 72,000 participants. And
wow.
In it. And I think in the U.S. it's like more like 15,000, but it's a huge market to be in. And so we wanted to get in that, but they're even kind of like, they've got a federation, and the federations in Europe, if you want to start a martial arts school, you can't just do it. You have to like go and apply, and it's like a whole process to be granted a license to go and run it. And it's government, the government controls it.
Interesting.
And but it cracks down on like they don't have to worry about inappropriate people being in charge of kids, and like it's government, the government says. Yeah. They make sure that they know their stuff. So you have like a higher level of training.
Yeah, that's true.
Makes sense. They hold the integrity of that. But when we tried to get in that market, it was like they wouldn't let us in, basically. They were like, you're not part of our club. And so we went and found somebody who is within that club and was a savvy entrepreneur who was kind of
nice.
The dark side. And he had his own problem, discovered really quickly. He was like, really knew what he was talking about, and he's a great salesperson. He didn't have very much business sense. He had like already gotten himself in money trouble. Okay. In terms of like being overextended on buying inventory and stuff. So we created like a win-win scenario with him. Like, hey, look, you have to pay this fee to the federation coming up. We'll pay it for you. And let us be your only person who sells the uniform. and let's like see where this goes for the next 3 years. And I'd like the option to like buy you out of it in 3 years. And just like we did with the game, this one. And it worked exceedingly well because he didn't have to do the business stuff. We did it for him.
Oh, he just saw the profits.
Yeah. He just went and sold. And we just paid a commission, and that worked out really well. So then Punak came in with us. And then with those two things going in Century, it became like a good. So that's the only three we have right now. There's something called VACO, which is what I go overseas for, but that's the federation part that Century's going to take on. It's from kickboxing. So now
that's that guy you had with you when we saw you at Jones.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, you said he was kickboxing. What's it called?
It's called VACO. They say VACO, but it's WAKO. It's the Federation for Kickboxing.
That's cool.
Like stand-up kickboxing. So,
man, that helps transition, and because we wanted to talk about real estate. Like,
yeah,
that's one of the things that's made me successful in real estate, and definitely your father and yourself, and anyone that really does it at a high level is having different strategies.
Yeah.
So you said he's creative in real estate. Like, where'd that come from? He started out early doing that, or?
Well, in our fam, so I guess our passion lies with Century, and then we've always done some real estate. And I think the real estate started because it was like he got a little taste of it, and was like, man, takes a lot of karate gis to make up one building. And you can kind of see. I mean, if you're in commercial real estate, you could see your whole year's salary in one sale. One sale. And so,
maybe twice your salary, three times.
And so that's where it became. It's like, maybe I should be having this business to really fund my real estate business, because I don't know if you're ever going to make, even at Century, we make money, but we just have, really we have salary. That at the end of the day, if there's any money left over, we just put it back into business. And so it's not a huge profit center for us.
No, and real estate with that appreciation, and that's going to be where you get those big chunks.
And we have a big, we look good on a balance sheet to a bank. And so we can approach a bank and borrow against this, because we have this huge asset behind us. And they look at it like, all right, this guy's probably good for his money. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how we start building a real estate.
So he started in commercial?
Yeah, started commercial. We started in residential in Dillard Group, which is in Norman.
That's you all?
Yeah.
I should have known. I was going to ask you because I know multiple realtors.
But he's an entrepreneur. And so he's not like, he never really did into sales of that. He just recognized back in, I think it was the 70s or 80s, he was like, they had a big hole in their residential stuff, and people were mad at some of the other ones. And he ended up creating kind of the administrative part of what's the Dillard Group. He was never one of the agents.
That's insane, though, because Dillard Group is a popular group.
It is. The name is stuck, and now we don't have anything.
Oh, you don't have anything to do with it now?
No, my sister-in-law works there.
Oh, okay.
Which, because her last name is Dillard, she gets a lot of the calls.
But you all started that era.
Started.
Man, that's crazy.
So he got out of that, then we have what's called Raptor, but it's more like become like development stuff. And it's, when I say it's the deal piece, it's just like there's a lot of creative things you can do in deals. It's not always, if you're doing houses, sometimes it's just buying to the house, but you're doing it with businesses and things. It's like, we did a development up in Edmond that's going on right now. And it's just, some of these are like, well, you build me the building and I'll lease it for 30 years because I don't want to be out the money it costs to build building. Okay, that's unique.
Well, no, because that's the only reason that people that deal with a lot of off-market properties scale is because creative deals. I mean, early in my career, I was able to acquire a rental and then end up turning it into a flip, but it was through lease option where it was, hey, like you said with that guy with the, what is it? Not Vaco.
Punak.
The Punak. Hey, I know you owe this, this, and this. Let me pay that, but then I keep this. And so I had a rental for a little over 2 years, just paying her payment while still cash flowing, but then was able to buy her out and then flip a house and make some money. And those type of things, there's hundreds of ways you can make money off it, but I think the mindset is most important with that, because even that, someone developing a building, but then you'll lease it for 30 years, like that's how people get.
Yeah.
That's how you play Monopoly. Like that's how you get multiple.
Well, I think it's how you make like a good group of people working together. Because sometimes if you're just doing a straight up buyer and a seller, it's like somebody's not happy. If you buy right, if you buy right, then the other person's pissed. But you buy right and you're doing good business, you know. But sometimes if you don't want that to be the scenario, or the person you need to buy is like, we actually are doing a development right now. Not to beat our chest or anything, but it's been going on for like 8 years. So it's going to be a big deal for us now. That same one in Edmond is, they're going to put a Whole Foods in now.
Okay.
And
nice.
The Whole Foods it's a huge deal for us. We've been waiting for something like that for a long time. We have to have the Whole Foods.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say that the world would fall apart if it didn't, but if you had the Whole Foods, everything else just becomes really easy.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like over there on Class and Curve, you got the Whole Foods, but then you got all that stuff around it.
Yes. So it's like, okay, well, Whole Foods comes in like, they carry a pretty big stick. It's like, you've got to that's got to be a win-win. They can't crush us because we're going to not have any way to develop everything around them. And we can't crush them because then they're just going to go away.
Yeah, because they're such a powerhouse.
Yeah. So you have to do like a build a suit or some kind of deal or give them a break on rent for like a year to get up and going and get their economies. And they're going to end up coming out really healthy on it.
Yeah, that's true.
But everything else does not fall in place unless they come.
And do you deal with that a lot? Or
I don't deal with that as much. I work with those, our development group, like once a month is kind of what I'm going to, but I like learn. I'm getting in here because I haven't earned a way to seat at that table, but I'm definitely like, that's where I would like to do one day and be able to participate in that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff doesn't come around every once in a while. So I'm over here like reading the leases and just learning.
So only mainly commercial, you all don't do residential anymore?
Not as much. Like I've had some rentals and stuff like that, but for the most part, I don't have like a rental portfolio, mainly because, it's like, if you got a rental portfolio, it just takes up, you got to everyone thinks it's passive income. Like, no, it is, but it's not.
It has to be a huge number for it to be completely passive. Then you're still managing something, whether you have a property management company or something.
In my experience, like, I don't want to be honest, people that nobody likes their landlord and like, you don't fix things for a long, like, I want to be like, take care of my stuff because, if you don't take care of it, the value of it goes down.
Well, that's why a lot of people currently, and it's probably been going on for years, I'm not the real estate guru, but what I've seen in our community is a lot of people are going more to like a rent-to-own strategy.
Yeah, it's because they'll take care of it.
Well, because they'll take care of it, and you're only going to have, even if it's a standard rental, you're only keeping it for so long anyway till you sell it to get the equity.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing on a rent-to-own, but you're making higher cash flow with less repairs. That was one of the only benefits early in that rental I had got was my tenant was in charge of repairs. So when they're calling you for the nickel and dime and all those things, like, no, it's not my responsibility. Yes. Now, that does come with stuff at the end when you're fixing it up to flip it. But on the rent-to-own side, that's providing people with even minimum like a few $100 extra a month.
Yeah. No
repairs. And the people that are buying it to live in it are going to be a lot more invested because they already put some down, but also they want to live here. Yeah. So when stuff happens, they're updating it, they're fixing it, they're putting new fixtures, they're putting flooring. So people are getting savvy to that too, where they don't want, the 30 traditional rentals where they make cash flow for all these years, but then in one summer, 3 ACs go out and now they're back 5 years. Because you don't expect those things, but 7,500 3 times, that's all your cash flow for the year.
Yeah.
And you're sitting in the negative. Like,
it's like you're living large for what you think a couple of years go by, and then you're like, oh, there it all goes.
Well, because the cash flow is awesome because you're getting monthly money. But, the play is to have a piggy bank. Yeah. And I think that's where the rent-to-own comes in recently from the people I see that do a lot of
You can get out over your skis, too, if you reinvest that money, reinvest it, and then something like that happens, you're like, I don't have any cash on hand to go.
Yeah, I don't have cash to fix anything. And it's like,
yeah.
Then you're trying to liquidate. Then you're selling some. But that's why it's smart to have different umbrellas. Like even within Century to have different operations, but then also have a commercial development side. That's big plays. Like I do a lot of residential. I've dabbled in commercial, but it's been mainly residential, which is great. I'm not downplaying that because you can make good money. But commercial are those bigger plays where it's multiple six-figure, 7-figure deals. And you're going to spend just as much time on that you are on residential. And that's where I've tried to learn. Because sometimes I'm in a busy mindset. It's like, well, yeah, you did close X amount of deals, like great job. But what if you transition that to 3 bigger deals with the same level of focus and intention? So that's actually something I've been like dabbling in a little bit too.
I don't know how much you do this on the real estate, on the residential side, but we certainly, don't let me give you the impression we don't have, like I said, you got to treat everybody right and do these creative deals. Well, we have a group of friends and investors. And I say friends, which is very rare to say about investors. Mm-hmm. So,
but that's like real estate syndication. Right. That's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, but we treated each other right. Mm-hmm. We've all had good deals, and when the bad deals, the people that are at fault, usually they're not part of the group anymore. They don't get the phone call next time. And so, like, that's the only way we've gotten to do it the other one. So we have a different partners almost in every single one. Big problem. We have like a bajillion LLCs that we have to like manage and do all that kind of stuff. But in the reality, it pretty much all the same people are involved in them.
That's just expanding your view of business, though, because say it's 10 of you or 5. We'll go make it easy and say 5. These 5 people are putting in money, resources, or intelligence, creativity of the deal, but everyone's going to make money from it. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as someone going to Walmart and working 80 hours a week. Yep. It's just you're putting more intention into it. You're doing it differently and you're making money creatively. So it's not just real estate, but any level of business. I think that's when you start getting into the next level.
Yeah. And even like those deals I'm talking about with Century, it's like those guys, I didn't want, if I went in and tried to buy it right, which I think we did get a great deal on it, but like I made sure that they're taken care of and they're continuing to get a piece of it. I didn't want to like put them by the wayside. I'm like, no, I want you to be a part of it. We should be a part of it together.
Well, no, because it makes sense because you could hit a slam dunk. Like I'm going to use real easy numbers. Say it's like 10 grand for some service. Yeah, you could get that 10 grand and then it's over. But what if you got 5 grand 50 times?
Yes.
Like that's that longevity where relationships I've built with people, whether it's on the realtor side, because I do mainly residential. I actually have a commercial listing in Tacoma Park right now, but majority is residential. There's some investors or some even just regular normal clients that since I was able to make a good deal with them, it's like our 8th, 10th, 15th, 20th house together.
That's the best story.
Like, that's great. You're not going to hit a home run every time. Sometimes it'll be base hits, but that's what makes it
you could have screwed start them to once. Grow. You could have screwed them once, gotten a lot more money.
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't have had the other 8. You know?
Well, then it starts to grow to where even in your business, you have multiple pots of income coming in. So it's like really building something that's going to withstand.
And that's probably the key to why Century's been around for 50 years, because at any one time, I feel like all these different markets we're in, even if it's just like, we also split our markets into like traditional martial arts, jiu-jitsu, MMA, combatives, like military type stuff, and then just striking, like boxing.
Yeah.
And at any given time, one of those is screwed. And it's just for random reasons. Like right now, kids martial arts is getting down 20%.
Is that why you did this 30,000 students?
Yes, it is.
So explain that.
Explain that. But anytime those go down, the other ones kick in, and they usually compensate. So like adult martial arts is on the flip side is going up. And so it's like, well, thank goodness we have them offsetting each other, because some of our competitors are just in one of those.
And then it gets
rough. Just like they're rough.
Well, it speaks to the real estate. Exactly. I mean, that's why when you have those different strategies, even with the development and everything, one's kind of dipping, but no, we got this Whole Foods deal.
Yeah.
So that's impressive.
Now, the 30,000 students thing was that some of our core customers they're struggling right now because of the economy, which no one seems to be talking about, but like things are ridiculously expensive. And I think that it's not a great news headline, but it's expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive.
And people are like starting to pull back. And usually if you pull back kids' martial arts, parents who have kids in martial arts, that tends to be an area they start saving. And that's just, it is what it is. We've seen it kind of every time a recession gets even like whispered, that tends to be
that's the thing they cut out.
That just seems to be like this. That's the sales reaction from our financials. I see. Because I don't think we're doing anything adversely wrong. And I know that I work with some of the billing processors who like run the memberships every month, and like those people may not be our customers, but they still are on the front lines, like processing those credit cards, and they're showing that it's going down. And so to help those guys, I think sometimes our customers, being small business owners, their martial arts schools mainly are, they tend to kind of be a deer in headlights, like, oh no, my enrollment number is going down. Like, what do I do? And so we put together a thing that we feel that Century's mission statement is that we exist to inspire people to experience life-changing benefits of martial arts. Because I believe, changed my life. You do martial arts.
Yeah, changed my life.
And it's like, I think that it's the best thing for any kid or adult to get involved in. So I do it for that reason, one. But two, just getting people involved in martial arts. I think we have enough market share. And I just feel like it always comes back around, kind of the mentality that if we just get people involved, eventually somebody's going to buy something from Century. And I hope so. And in the end, I don't know, it just makes our market. If martial arts gets bigger, we're going to benefit somewhere. So we put together a campaign to try and get, like, during the back to school time, the most important time for martial arts schools. Giuliano should listen to this. Is when kids are going back to school and just like this transition from summer to fall, there's a lot of homes that are just talking about their finances because they're going back to school shopping, all this kind of stuff. And we're talking about what sports we're playing. And that's the most pivotal time for any martial arts school to get in front of parents or any kind of prospective students and like have a conversation or at least open up their doors and be like, hey, this is what's going on in my place. Mm-hmm. And so we ran a campaign to challenge our industry and all our customers just to say, look, we want to get 30,000 kids across the world involved in martial arts. So I called all the federations we're in partnership with and everybody I could really get my hands on and said, hey, like, just put this out there. I'm not trying to profit from it. I'm just going to try to get people involved and you're going to win, I promise.
Yeah, that's planting all those seeds.
Yeah. And I feel like this year was probably a seed year.
Yeah.
And next year will be bigger because the first thing, the idea behind it is if I can get all these schools to get 30 students on average, the kind of the program we teach them how to do should get them net new 30 students. If I can just get 1,000 schools, then that's 30,000. And I got 1,120 schools.
Wow.
So, and I didn't even know if anybody was going to sign up.
Man,
so I was
that's
kind of like,
huge. Congrats on that.
It was awesome. That was the first goal. Second goal is they get on and they're like, we have our first meeting. So it's like a series of webinars on how to do this. And, I don't know, 750 of them actually show up. I'm like, okay, it's a little less. And then we're on our last meeting will be next week. Last week was the second last meeting. And there was only like 150 left.
Out of the 1,000.
Because they get on there and they're like, well, there's more of them involved because they will go and watch the recorded videos and all that kind of stuff. I know there's more than 150 schools. It's 185, I think. And I know that they're still doing it, but when people find out that they actually have to work towards it, I'm like, oh, they're not handing me 30 students.
No,
I can't hand you 30 students, but I'm going to give you some free stuff and I'm going to give you some free information to help you get there. And I have absolutely nothing to benefit from it. Mm. You're going to have to do the work. They're like, oh, shit, I thought it'd be free.
Yeah.
And so they just start falling off. But what we teach them is just 2 weeks before September, we're like, hey, this is how we're going to go about doing this. You need to plan now in the middle of September to have like a really big open house event at your school. And here's the people you should call and the exact like lines you should say to them.
That's crazy. You're giving them the game.
Call the fire department and the police department and see if they'll come and do a volunteer community like awareness program at your school the same day so that they can look at the fire truck for the kids and do all this kind of stuff. Go to your local school and say this, and this. Like, can I hand out flyers? And I'd like to invite some of the people from your school. I won't do a hard sell. I'd just like to put these here for the parents and then have a reward system where everybody in your school who brings somebody gets a raffle ticket. And during class, we're going to raffle off, like, go buy 2 or 3 cool gifts, or you can do free gifts, like throwing a pie. And I'll let the kids throw a pie at the instructor's face if they want. Like silly stuff like that.
That stuff's huge, though, because people don't think outside the box.
So simple. Mm-hmm. And they just, sometimes people
they don't want to.
But the ones that did, like we had one customer sign up 61 students. And it's now only been 3 weeks.
And he knows the value. Like he sees 61
But he'd never done it before. Now he's like, this is game tantrum, doing this every year.
That's what I was going to say, every year.
And then you've got people that are like, oh, I don't know, like I live in the middle of nowhere. I can't do it. There's not 61 people that sign up for martial arts. And they're like, okay, you're the naysayer. But then we have we always seed people that I'm like, we do have a guy that lives in the middle of nowhere and he has 350 kids at his school and did this. And he got the 30 he was supposed to a previous year. Like, hey, Mr. So-and-so, like, tell him.
Well, well, even in those smaller areas where they say they don't have enough people, Imagine if you do grab the community, though.
Yeah. It's
like,
it's almost like a monopoly on the opportunity.
They're only going to know you. They're only going to love you. Like,
and so, I don't know, it worked really, really well. But
that's impressive.
And we're going to do this. I mean, you have to I'll throw this. This is like amazing because this group of people that we work with that are also school owners, they kind of seed this information. And there was no selling point at that during that thing. It worked really well. So far, we're up to at least, I know we're above 10,000 students. So we may not get to 30, but next year we're trying to do that. And I send them a coin for every student they sign up that's free, which does cost me a lot of money because it's $1.50 a coin. And I'm like, whatever, I'm honoring my thing. So I actually invested in it. But they are coming back and buying some stuff too, so that it's reciprocating. But we also do this thing on teaching them how to do holiday sales in their school, which not all schools merchandise them. So
he has been diving into it a little bit this year. I will say it's probably coming from you because he is doing
he does good.
It's talking about it.
We used to sometimes, but I think he's just been
getting more locked in it. Yeah, because I've noticed, I've been there 4 years. In the last 2 years, I've seen it more. But this last year, since he moved locations, they're having events. They're having specials. Yeah. They're having bring a buddy type stuff. And I mean, it's smart because I think everyone loves their gym, but
like we like to rep. I just mean we like to rep the gym.
Yeah, you like to rep it, and it really does change your life in some capacity. Right. For some more, but I mean, it really does change your life. You mentioned kids, and I would have been way better off if I would have started as a kid. Yeah. I didn't start till an adult, but jiu-jitsu would have changed my life as a child. It would have probably took out a lot of fear, a lot of attitude problems. It would have saved a lot of speed bumps.
Yes.
Now, that changes because, you may come out differently, but it would have been nice to have a lot of my challenges be on a mat than like out in the world. Did you start young?
Yeah, so I was 4.
Really?
Yes, but I was on and off all life. So I didn't start jiu-jitsu until I met Juliana.
Really?
And so it's been like 12 years.
Nice.
So I'm getting there.
What did you start out with first, karate?
Just Taekwondo.
Taekwondo?
Yeah. I got my black belt in Taekwondo, but I didn't even do that from white to black. I had like stopped and started because my dad let me do other sports and stuff like that.
Well, it's impressive though because you can tell who's done like a Taekwondo or karate style because your flexibility is pretty crazy. You may not think you're that flexible, but
I know.
Like that was one of the first things I noticed about you is I was like, bro, he's like dense and he's flexible. Like he's super strong, but he's slim and he's flexible.
But I don't.
It kind of teaches you other
see some of the other people in the world.
Oh, well, yeah. You could always compare, but to find jiu-jitsu 12 years ago. So how old are you now?
34.
So 22.
Yeah.
Coming out of college. Yeah. That's good. It probably kind of puts you back on track.
Well, it's like very adult oriented, whereas it's I don't know, the world's shifting where it's normal sometimes. It's more normal to do jiu-jitsu than it is to do some of the other ones.
Yeah. What gravitated you towards it when you met Juliana? Like, how'd you come across him?
So I don't know. Sometimes like fate just happens. I'm not very religious, but it's kind of bizarre. Things like that just come to be.
Stuff's meant to be, man.
And Kyle started training with Giuliano and Ricardo Laborio, who Giuliano. I'm not sure. I don't think that he's his direct lineage, but he kind of took him under his wing. I know they trained together a lot, and they kind of mentor relationship. We were at our trade show in Las Vegas, and Laborio, like, he really wanted us to get into jiu-jitsu, and he's a big visionary for the sport. Mm-hmm. He's always given like big speeches about.
Well, his positivity is infectious.
Yeah, it is.
It's
awesome.
It's kind of crazy.
And so he was just kind of doing that whole deal. He was like, Mike, I'd like to give you your first lesson. Just come on. And I was like, I was just intimidated. When you get asked that, you don't get to say no.
Well, I couldn't even close my legs my first time.
Yeah,
for guard.
You just don't get to say no.
Yeah.
It's like this world famous person asking you to do this. You're like, yes, sir, I'll be there. What time? What time and where? So, especially in my world, so I had to be super respectful. And so I was like, yes, sir, I'll be on the mats 7 a.m. before the trade show opens. And he just gave me my first lesson. And it's like, you got to go. I'm calling Giuliano. You got to go over there or something. And so I just kind of bit the bug. And
you started by yourself because Kyle was there, but you didn't join with like anyone else at the same time.
No, not just me. No, at that point, I think Kyle was a blue belt, and I just started getting into it.
Well, good, because then you were just getting wrecked as soon as you started.
Yes, I was. Like everybody else. But I'd also, up until that point, I went to OU, so I'd just been isolated in Norman. And I boxed all college. Nice. I do all different styles of martial arts, too. That's why I haven't been able to kickbox as much as I would like to.
Well, that's why when you would
Kids
come
and
to
everything,
striking, it's like natural for you because it's like, no, you've been
That's actually-
striking forever.
I used to love that even more. I teach kickboxing sometimes at work, but it's different because it's not. I'm nothing compared to everybody at the gym. I'm like, I go to work and I'm like, big dog.
You
'Cause
are
nobody
more
else-
than nothing, though.
But nobody else does it at work, so I look like they all think I'm really good. And I'm like, no, you should go to our gym.
Well, that's true. Yeah, there's that comparison too, for sure.
But Laborio just he would check in on me once in a while and stuff, and I'd be like, I'm still at it. And so I had like that extra guilt. Plus, Giuliano's really good at making everyone feel like you weren't here 4 times a week. You're not getting here. So, and I appreciate that too.
Yeah. Well, like something I always say about it is it gave me a lot of structure.
Yes, it does.
It gave me some structure that I didn't know I needed because like having that respect and the manners of the gym, and then also the commitment aspect where they want to like make sure you're invested. And it's not just for them, like it's for you too.
Because
you're almost wasting your time if you barely go because you're just going to be at the bottom every day.
Exactly. You're like always getting back in shape.
Like, and that's probably something like, I know when I took too long of a break because I'll go to class and then my fingers will get the scrape from the geese and I'm like, took too long of a break. Like I need to make sure I'm in here. But yeah, when we started, you were, I think, a brown belt already, or did you get promoted while we were here? You were a purple belt. Yeah, purple belt.
But when I got my brown belt, even I was like, I'm not sure I'm ready for this because I think Laborio came in town. I was like, I hope this is because Dillard would never do that anyway. But I was like, I hope this isn't because Levo's in town. I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
I don't think that's something I've learned is you don't ever think you're ready for it.
No. Yeah.
Something I will say is, speaking for myself, I don't know about the other guys, but I do look up to you as like a strong belt.
I appreciate it.
No, I mean that because there's different levels of jiu-jitsu. And what I mean by that is intensity wise.
Yeah.
There's a balance. Like you can be super skillful, but you can be an asshole. And then if you're like that, then someone like myself that's just starting out, you've seen me since a white belt. I'm not learning. Yeah. But if I can go with you and you constantly beat me, but beat me in the right ways and teach me, like that's why I can come to you and Josh, and that's why I looked up to you also early in the career, is because you guys were so far ahead, but you would take me through it. Yeah. Like, hey, I know I choked you out there, but try this. Or you even get it softly and you're like, all right, move to your left. Okay. Yeah.
But probably my biggest problem too is I don't care that much about losing.
I'm the same
I
way.
wish I was a little more competitive, and I have been, but sometimes I'm like, I literally enjoy going and I like working out. It's like the best workout in the world.
It's the best workout, especially when it's hot.
But when I need to be more detailed about like my technique and making sure I'm like really trying new stuff and stuff. And sometimes
I didn't know I was that similar to you because like someone will say like, why don't you have cauliflower? And I was like, because I'll tap. Like,
I got it at one point and it sucked.
Well, I just like,
but
it is a mindset thing because there's some people that just won't tap and then they go to sleep. Like I remember John, white belt John.
Yeah.
People were about to break his arm and then G had to get on his ass. He's like, hey, like, they're being nice to you. Like, this is stupid. This is a waste of time. Like, you need to do this. And I think me and you both could find a balance of turning it on. But I will say from the outside looking in, I have like creeped on you sometimes when we're rolling, and I see when you are making sure you're turning on the flex. So it comes out, but I know what you mean with being a nice roll.
And I just mean the technique. I'm like, I see some people that they look like so effortlessly. Like even like Kyle's really flexible and he's able to use that to him. And Tim he doesn't even look like he's trying, but he's setting you up the whole time. And
Tim gets
like,
you.
And like Trey is like kind of oddly elegant in that he doesn't even look like he's trying, but he's like weighs a bajillion pounds on you.
Well, something he's been working on probably forever, but something he's been like conscious when we're rolling is his guard retention at all times, like always having one foot on you. And I'm like, can you fucking stop? Like, because he's getting everywhere. So like my win with him is just passing the guard.
Yeah.
Like that's my win. Everything else, I passed the guard and got swept and got choked out. That's whatever. But I'm working from A to B because he's working on, D, E, and F already. But I think something special about the gym is the camaraderie though, because even though this is the longest we've spent together, we have a great relationship just based on our sessions at the gym.
Yeah. And I like the eclectic. Everybody's different. Everybody's different at the gym. And so that makes it something special.
It's funny because like the gi, everyone's similar because you're seeing like same gis and like Giuliano patches. But then like deep down, you talk to someone, you're like, we're different as hell. Like he's a chef, he's a real estate, he owns a company. Like, this guy doesn't do anything. Like,
I love that about the gym too. So it makes for a cool group.
Well, man, it also makes me think just because you're mentioning kids and martial arts and things like that, and I know you keep your son involved.
Yes.
Do you only have one kid?
I have two. But my daughter's 3 years old.
Okay, so she's not really soon, I guess.
And even my son, he's 7. It's a weird deal. I mean, because I went through it when I was little, but it's like you should get your kids involved, but make sure that they're on board. Don't force them into it, because then martial arts is a little bit different, and it doesn't have seasons, and it doesn't have a lot of other things that it's better in some respects, but I understand how kids get it's a little daunting for them if they're not into it. And you're like, hey, we made this commitment. And a gym membership's it's not like going to football league for little kids. You pay the $25 and hey, we're going to be doing this for 6 weeks. Once a week, we're going to practice and then it's going to be over. It's like, no, hey, we signed you up for a year.
And it's 5 days
a long journey, and you can come up to 5 days a week, and you better come too. And it's like, that's a lot. Did he
like it at first or no?
He likes it a lot. Jiu-jitsu is interesting for kids. This is my first experience, like seeing.
What do you see?
I think it has all the same benefits of some of the other styles in terms of like respect and the discipline of coming, and like it's a hard task that they have to do this, and it's like it's not. Kids are really, they're taught in school to like pay attention to detail, but it's writing and math and make sure you do this exactly how I describe it. But physically, they aren't asked to do those kind of things.
That's true.
Like jiu-jitsu is pretty easy to get lost in your own body parts.
Yeah.
Be like, where am I? And
what am I grabbing?
You are. So I think that part's really, really good for them. It doesn't have as much bowing and yes sir, no sir, and like light up. Really, like some of that stuff that is like militant almost that some of the other martial arts have, but I wouldn't say that that's a there's good and bad about that. I think that honestly, I think every kid, like there's different styles of martial arts, and based on parents don't approach it like this, but I think that certain martial arts are good for certain personality types of kids. Like if you have a kid that's really acting up, some of the taekwondo type stuff is good for them in the beginning because like they don't put up with that,
and they're going to get a lot of structure.
Yeah, they have to do push-ups, and it's like nonstop. Yes or no. Yeah, you didn't bow. Get over there and bow. That kind of stuff. And that's good for them. But jiu-jitsu is probably better in terms of like usefulness, and I think the mobility and kind of development of like thinking, because it's a strategy.
It's so mental.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, or it was when the days we do bases instead of switching or instead of like picking your partner, you get these bases where you go 1 through 6. One time I had like 4 black belts in a row, and I walked over to someone, I don't even remember. I like to talk a lot of shit while I'm rolling. I always tell people that's all I got. Like when I'm sitting here getting wrecked, like that's all I got is to be able to talk shit to you. But I went to the side because I was on the break, or I was the one that had the break from the rolls that time. And I was like, man, my head hurts. Like I just went with Rod, Trey, some black belt I didn't know that was just there, and then like Jeff.
Yeah. And
I was like, my head hurts. Like my body hurts, but my head is fried because they're just so ahead of you. Like I rolled with Tim 2 days ago in the morning, and he just was getting me, and I was like, man, did you just do like a ninja flip to get on my back? And he was like, yeah. And then his feet are just stuck in for his hooks, and you're just like, well, dang, I failed.
Yeah.
That makes me laugh because when I came to the gym, out of all the black belts, most of them were nice.
Yeah.
And Jeff was super nice. But he was the one that was the hardest.
Yeah.
Him and Rod.
Yes.
Like Jeff would be like, here, I'm going to show you how to do this move. And he'd do it. And I'd be like, why's it got to hurt so bad? Like, dang, like, why's it got to hurt so bad? I thought we were drilling. But, you're a white belt going with a black belt. There's that respect level.
Yeah.
And you want to learn from them that you're like going with it. Like most of the time, for people that don't know, at mixed gyms, the white belt's going to go with a higher belt. Mm-hmm. And once you get to like purple, I'm at purple now. It's more of a gray area. I don't really get as many higher belts always.
Yeah.
But I got to get Tim the other day. I was like, I got to take advantage of this. Because when I was early, white and blue, I just walk to Josh, you, or other black belts every day.
Yeah.
Just every day. I'm like, no, I'm not waiting for these white belts that are confused. I'm going to get the cream of the crop now. And that's something I've seen transition since right now at the gym. It's like a lot of lower belts. Some of them freeze to pick. I'm like, no, you should like look at these people like gold. Like, no, you see Tim by himself. Like the other day, it was just Tim and I had the opportunity. I was like, gee, is this okay? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, hell yeah. Because back in the day, I would just like spam it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I got Josh. No, I got Mikey. No, I got Trey. You guys are too slow. Like, I'm not going.
That's the way you learn, though.
Well, and that was something G said is that's how you learn faster and safer too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I wouldn't have learned as much without going with you all. Because then when I started, you weren't coming as much.
Yeah. Well, I come in the morning.
Oh, okay. You were in the
big thing.
I just started doing the morning. I just started doing the morning. So I didn't see you as much because I was lazy.
No, it's because I have kids.
When you would show up, I'd be like, who is this nice guy that's just like wrecking me?
Whatever.
Like, it was you, the higher belts, and then the only lower belt that would, well, he's not a lower belt, he was a blue belt, but the one that was like kryptonite was Speedy.
Yeah. And like he's good. Some guys I'm like, man, gee, you gotta do some promotions.
I'm like, Speedy, like, damn, why are you so freaking good, man? And why are you 130 pounds? Like, it is pretty funny how it works, but it's the family aspect is cool because, like I said, we've hung out some, but it's mainly gym.
Yeah.
And then we get to have this moment, and I feel like your family based on jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
like,
I'd kill for anybody at the gym. And it's just I feel like I wish people asked me for favors or stuff more often. And I'm like, so I have good opportunities to see each other.
Well,
but when we go roll out to a fight too, I mean, when we go out to like the Shaq's fight and stuff, I think that's cool when everybody shows up. And
you see 30 people.
Well, nobody even talked about it, but like everyone's there.
It's a nice community. We were watching Shaq, Josh, and all them, and you almost like you're so much like family that we're not even like shaking everyone's hand in the group. It's like, no, this is all my brothers and sisters, and there's 30 of us sitting here. Like, we already know everyone's here.
I remember I did one fight. I
saw a clip on it.
I thought about fighting this year. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I've just been so damn busy.
Kickboxing or MMA?
It was an MMA fight when I did it. But I remember being like I see Giuliano because he's my coach, but then I was like, man, I'm going to need like some people to help me get through this. Like, because I've just never been, I do this in my work, but I've never been in that situation. And I was like, I just, for whatever reason in my head, I was like, well, man, I guess I'd like to pay like Shakir to do that. And then like Danny, and I was just like, approached him like, they didn't have to pay me. Like, what are you talking about? Like, God damn, that's awesome. You guys are, I guess, I don't know what I'm thinking, but I just know like this could take so much time out of your night to like go and do that for me. I just thought, I want to like make the most of it, but it's like we really are a family and a community, and it's like I'm honored to be there. I was like, that's the coolest thing in the world. I love you.
Well, the camaraderie from you really feeling like you have to be there for your teammate.
Yeah, 100%.
How'd you commit to fighting that? You only fought once?
It was a charity that is in Oklahoma City. I know a bunch of people in it.
Oh, that boxing stuff?
Yeah.
But it was MMA?
It was an MMA fight,
Because I heard whoever was recording you, they were hyped.
Well, I knew a bunch of people there.
Someone was recording it when I saw the clip. It was like Instagram.
It was kind of a nerve-wracking because it's like, not only, I don't know, I have a lot to lose and nothing gained, to put it that way. Because everyone's like, for me, I feel like when I do that stuff, they're like, well, he's in the martial arts industry. He has to win. And if I win, everyone's like, expectations were met. Mm-hmm. If I lose, then it's like I go backwards. It's like,
how'd you commit to it? You knew that they needed one, or you just wanted to do it?
They just always talked about it, and they were trying to raise money extra, and I just was like, yeah, I mean, if I did it, would that help? And they're like, that'd probably help a lot to have a local person do it. I was like,
how much notice?
I had as much notice I needed to, so I started training a while, but I didn't know who was going to fight. So I told him like, it's always in January, so I probably told him like now.
Oh, nice. So you had time to eat right and everything. What weight?
Yeah. I was prepared for it. It was just I wasn't about to lose.
Yeah,
because I was in really good shape, and even then I was tired. Fighting makes you so
tired is insane.
That's okay.
It's like people laugh about this, and some people will go to fight, and then they're in like this different mindset where like nothing hurts, and it's a different mindset.
Yeah,
I was too aware. Like some people are like not aware in there. Like you're trying to say their name, they can't hear you. I was too aware. I remember in my fight, I kicked this dude's knee real early and still like kept throwing it like, fuck it. But I came in at the round 1 and Shaq was like, you did good, man. It's all right. And I was like, yeah, but you're a liar. And he's like, what? I'm like, I can feel fucking everything. And he was like, shut up. And then I remember actually getting tired, and you know, Rachel will talk shit to me. She's like, well, I told you to do those extra rounds and some of them you cheated, and now look, you were tired in the end. So like, she has a great way of like telling me what I need to hear. Cause when I heard that after, like it did help a lot. Cause I was like, yeah, I let myself down in certain moments. But G was like, he's dying. He's tired. You're not tired. You good. Are you tired? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what the, shut up. And I'm like, sorry, man. Like this is it's survival, and you don't realize like how tired you'll be. And my ground game wasn't as good at that time, to where I think once you're more balanced, you can lean on other stuff to not save energy, but use it more strategic. Like I could think to get in mount and breathe instead of like, no, let me just throw 150 strikes around. Like, who do I think I am? Like, you're going to be tired as hell.
The adrenaline dump gets you too.
You go sit on the stool. You're like, what the fuck?
I was like, I remember going, why am I so nervous for this? Like, I'm good. I'm fully prepared, but that adrenaline dump, you just can't. I don't have the mind control yet.
Who was in your corner?
It was Shakira and Danny.
Oh,
and then G. But I can't always understand G.
Yeah, you can.
I love G. I love you. But sometimes when he coaches me, I'm like, he just gets so fired up that sometimes I understand. And I just remember them yelling at me, and be like, and I was like, I can't understand. And then I finally heard clearly Shaq. He's like, you're doing jiu-jitsu. Get on top. And I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, I can do that. I just got on mount and I just finished it.
Well, that's when I saw the clip, was you finishing it, and then someone who was recording it was screaming, like, Mikey, get him. But it's
fun.
It's cool to do. And it's nice to check off the list.
And it's a huge community thing.
Going back,
I was very thankful of those three. They came and showed up for me. I was just like, yeah. I guess
the love you get when you're weight cutting in the gym. And,
yeah.
Like, there will be times when Josh would be weight cutting and some of his were extreme.
Yeah.
And you don't want to talk because
I know. I feel like
you're dying. You don't want to talk. Yeah. He walked by me one time and just grabbed my forearm real tight, like a love grip. And then just looked me in my eyes and kept going and dying. And it's like, no, I'm here for you, man. I know it sucks. I remember having to scrape the gel off to make him stop from sweating. And I hope he listens to this, because this was funny as shit. He was like, hey, can you come scrape that off? And I was like, yeah, I got you, man. And I start scraping it off. And this is when I was about to get into my camp. And he was like, when you're cutting your weight, don't do what I did. Don't do it like this. And he's like, because he had just had to lose so much weight that time, and he was dying so hard. But like him giving me that movie moment, I was dying. Like, I'm like, no, like this is real.
I saved for too much. G slowed me down because I was cutting too fast, and then I slowed down too much. I was like, it's miserable.
That's funny. That's what I did. Is I cut too much. He's like, why are you wearing plastic on Monday? I was like, I thought I have to be at weight. And he's like, you idiot, like you're too low. And then I had a pinch of salt with my eggs the day before, and I gained 6 pounds from like the water weight. That's and he crazy. Was like, you gotta lose that. So I had to go and do it again. But it's just,
it's crazy.
It's wild. Yeah, the dehydration part is the sickest part. I would have much rather fought at like a regular weight if the other person's at a regular weight.
Yeah.
Because me and Shaq weigh the same, so I don't want to fight Shaq. But like, if you can find a comfortable natural weight, I think it's cool.
I agree. I never gained my way back really.
Really?
Yeah. I used to walk around at like 175. Now I'm like permanently 165 pounds.
Really?
Yeah.
But it keeps you in good shape.
But I cut down to 145.
Yeah, that's where I was at.
And I was like, this is no fun.
I hadn't been that weight since high school.
And then my guy I fought showed up like 10 pounds over. Like, oh, yeah, cool. That sucks.
Yeah, so what I'm doing doesn't matter. And it's a charity event, so it didn't matter at all.
Amateur, so it's like, hey, do you want to still do the fight? I'm like, yes, I want to still do the fight.
Obviously, like, but I just
there's no purse to give up or anything like that. So it's like, I get no benefits, go whatever.
Well, man, something I like to do closer to the end is I do like to give you some compliments and give you some flowers. And I know I've given you a lot throughout, but something I've learned from the gym is that, like we've said multiple times, it is a big family.
Yeah.
And when you come into the gym at first, it can be daunting, but you're also unaware of all the connections. You see all these people, you see 50 people, on or a seminar day, you see 70 people. You're like, I don't know any of these people, but they have a direct relationship with each other. And you were always good to us and always was yourself. And I think that's what's really important, not only in life because it's built us a good connection, but in martial arts culture, I think it's huge to be able to be those connectors for new people. Because people are scared to go or intimidated. And
it's a hard sport.
Really, I mean, after a couple classes, as long as you're buying in, you're in.
Yeah.
Like, you're in. Like, you could be the most untalented, unathletic person in the world, but you came 3 times this week and tried, like, people are going to start taking you under their wing.
100%.
And you were one of those people for me, even though it was 100%. More casual. It was more on like a Saturday or a seminar just because of the timing. But we all do appreciate you. And we look up to all the higher belts, but I like to show respect to people like yourself. So thank you. And then on the business side, I'm blessed to know other men like you that are not only successful in business, but successful taking care of themselves and their family life. They say you attract what you want to attract or how you act, you know, and I feel really blessed. And I say it almost every episode that I just know good people. So I see you posting your family, your wife, your kids, your father, all that. But I see how people receive you at the gym, and I see that you're steady on business. When we do talk through messages, it's like, yeah, man, I'm grinding on this. Like, you always keep it real, and it means a lot because, like I said earlier, someone could make $50 million a year or $50,000 a year, and if they have a connection and they're real with each other, like, that's all that really matters because this money could be gone. So I look up to you for being humble and dedicated because you are a successful guy. And then something else is, if there's anything I forgot to bring up, feel free to tell me now. But if there's any questions you had for me or any random thoughts too.
I don't think there's anything we forgot. It pretty much puts me in a nutshell. More family. I don't, kids. That's a whole nother adventure.
Yeah.
You're ready. That probably described or changed my life a lot. It puts me why I am the way I am. But
let's wrap up with that. I want to wrap up with like how being a father and a husband changed you for the better.
Well, it changed me for the better because you get to see kind of life is a lot simpler when you look at your kids, and that's a part of like innocence, and like you're like, oh man, these kids don't even know what I just went through my day or to get here and all this stuff, and to like usher them into that is a big responsibility. But also, I think you have this like a new selflessness that you have to embrace because you want your kids to have the best life ever. I still want to do jiu-jitsu, but I have to find a balance. That's because I don't want to take a part of my day away from them. And like, I don't get to spend, everybody has different jobs. You should be very blessed. And I, like I said, our family does real estate stuff too. So I've had the choice. I just haven't had the opportunity yet to go on that style of business, but I have to be at work at 8, and typically I've got to leave at 5. And so if I want to still do jiu-jitsu, it's like, these are pretty hard demands because it takes me almost 45 minutes to commute. And I only get from about 6 until 8 o'clock till I put my kids to bed to spend with them every day. So it's like, that's
important time.
And so I can't take away from those 2 hours. So that's why I go in the morning, and I love that Juliana has that as an option because they're going to be asleep anyway. So I'm not missing out on anything. And so you've just got to, I don't know, when you go in that venture of having kids and developing a family, it's, man, I got to start making real self-sacrifice on time and start choosing what's important, and prioritizing what's important, because the other thing is I've also learned that I have to be extremely productive at work, like when I'm in the office, because sometimes I like to look around or like be friendly to people, and then I will leave, like, that's 2 hours with my kids. I'm not going to go home and work. Well, I've got to spend time with them, and then I take a shower, get that like 9 o'clock. Oh, I got to answer some emails and stuff. And I sit there and I work from 9 to 11. That sounds great in theory, like you're a really hard worker, but then 4:30 in the morning rolls around and I try to get back up for jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, well, I didn't get much sleep. And then
and you want to spend time with your wife.
And so by Thursday, I'm like, oh man, and then I'm like, I'm a really hard worker. But I'm worthless because I'm so exhausted. So
that's important.
You got to maximize your time at each one. It's definitely made me be really intentional about whatever I'm doing, if I'm working out, like my wife always goes and works out and doesn't sweat. She also thinks
She doesn't sweat?
I mean, just sometimes I'm like, she comes home and how'd you work out? She can lift the weights or something, but I just mean, we sweat in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So if I go lift weights or something, I try to take that same mentality. I'm not like going to just kind of work out. Like, no, I'm in here. I'm going to do as hard as I can.
Yeah.
Or if I'm at jiu-jitsu, I'm going to sure as hell try my hardest. This is otherwise it's a waste of my time. And so when I'm in the office now in particular, I'm like, I try to just be like, all right, I got to get as much stuff done as possible, because if it carries over, then I'm just going to be miserable in some other way, or I'm going to take away from my kids, or I'm going to take away from the gym, or I'm going to have to skip or something like that. So
you never know what you're supposed to hear. And I think I was supposed to hear that, because sometimes I feel that I'm not doing enough in any field, but majority like the business side. And to hear you say like making sure to be all in, because I try to be, but with my schedule being different every day, sometimes there's parts that fall through the cracks. But that's some nice message to hear for not only myself, but anyone listening, that like, be intentional and all in with what you're doing right now. It speaks to being present and like really taking in the experience, because you maximize what you're doing at work, and then you can maximize 2 hours with your kids. So that's
my pet peeve is like being in a meeting and everyone's like spends 15 minutes just kind of bullshitting around in the beginning. We get stuff done and there's like 15 minutes left, and everyone just kind of like hangs out. I'm like, guys, I love you. I want to hang out, but like, are we done here? 1 and 2, why don't we, like, I think we should get started on the dot. Get this thing done, and then you guys want to chit chat after, I'm going to leave, because I'm going to go down.
Well, your time is so important to you.
Yeah, it is. There's a book called Psychology of Money.
Okay,
I should read that book.
Yeah. Let me write it down.
Psychology of Money. Well, I think that's the number one thing. It's a great book about how, one, money's not going to make you happy, but two, like all you really even have this. We're all not obsessed with it, but it's something we have to do in our life is make money. That money is just giving you time, and you can't ever make time. So anyway, maximizing it and making the most of it is probably the most important thing you can do with it. But I just want to, I've only got so many hours in a day, and it's not because I'm more important than anybody else. It just means I'm the kind of person like, I'd like to get to work and work as fast as possible in hopes of having extra time at the end of the day, rather than like, take 5 breaks and spread that break out. My wife always likes to go late. I equate this to going late to the airport for some reason. So it's like, look, we can sit at the house and relax. We don't have to be at the airport until 8 o'clock. I'm like, there is absolutely no penalty for us being late or early to the airport. If we are late, we're going to miss our flight, and we're not going to get to do anything. We don't get that money back. And I can work it for at the airport. So.
Okay, yeah. No, but
we're going to leave at 7:30. And then we're going to have some free time to the airport. And you can just sit there and sleep if you want. Drink your coffee. It's cool. Then I'm going to work.
Well, I could tell because you showed up early today. And that's something my dad's always if you're earlier on time guy. Yeah. And I instantly got that from you. Like, you've already given me things that I need to implement without even noticing it. And I know, like, you're going to be like, whatever, dude. But it's true. Like, seeing you show up early, I'm like, I need to be better about showing up early. Because this is a podcast. This isn't your business. This isn't the Century meeting in Turkey. Like, it's not that. And you still treated it with a lot of respect. So I can't, like, thank you enough, man. And I know we've been wanting to do this, but, like, God, the universe, whatever you want to say, has a way of putting things right on time. It's meant to be. So for you to be able to come today and, like, do this with me I appreciate it a lot.
I appreciate you. Love me to. I like getting to grow relationships and knowing people more.
Yeah. Of course. Well, thank you, bro. We'll get out of here. I appreciate it.